Hello, hello! Today we have Glamlite's RUH-ROH RAGGY 10 Shade Palette. This is from Glamlite. This is the outside of the box, and you will not believe it's happened. It's finally freaking happened. This is the first Glamlite palette where I had no issues with like any of the colors. Save maybe one color that wasn't the best, but even that, I'm willing to give it a pass. I am so beyond, like, I can't even, I'm speechless. I can't believe this one actually worked. So this came out in a collection for last year's Halloween. As you can see, we're already Halloween-y here at my house. This is the Scooby-Doo palette. It came out with a palette that was more purple-leaning. It had purples and blues, and this one is pretty much all green. This is the outside of the palette. This is the box. This is what the box looks like. It has a picture of what the colors will be inside. It's nice and travel-friendly. The shades in this one are bigger, and then this is the actual palette. So the outside of the palette is not the same as the inside of the palette, and there is like texture on the lettering and on the little bats up here. But other than that, it's pretty much flat. I kind of wish they had shaded images. Like, I wish this was the outside of the box and that this was the palette. I really like this little spooky house with the bats and the moon and the spooky tree. I think that would look a lot nicer, but yes, this is what we have today. Nice and thick. This is what that back looks like. When you open it up, you'll see this mirror. It's got the creeper on it. So we have the creeper there. And then there's no shade names. They're numbered. So on here what you're going to see is numbers. If you remove that, these are the shades. So these are the shades that I've worn this week. These colors were absolutely beautiful. I was so surprised. The way that this formula worked from this palette is what I was expecting from Glamlite. It's, I feel like, what everyone has been raving about, because up until this point I haven't really experienced it. I've tried 5 Glamlite palettes so far, and I'm not in love with any of them at all. I have a red icy palette. The reds in there are amazing, but the shimmers are garbage. And in this one, they both came out to be beautiful. The mattes in there are absolutely lovely, and so were the shimmers. The shimmers were so much fun to use. I think the only color in this palette I kind of had trouble with was this light green one here on top. It did kind of bunch up and roll up a little bit, but not awfully so. Other than that, this is just such an amazing little palette. It has all these mattes are so pigmented. They are crazy pigmented. And I can see why they ended up releasing this for Halloween, because I was trying to think, what kind of event would you wear these colors to? And it really is, these are really just amazing colors to wear for spooky season. They're really good. I think my favorite color in here, and the one that surprised me the most, I think it was this one here on top. It's adjacent to the blue. I want to swatch that. So let me swatch. I think the 3 best shimmers in here are the darker colors. So let's do this one. So these are the 3 that I just swatched right now. Absolutely beautiful, very dark. This one in the middle, which is my favorite, is, I believe, a duochrome, because it kind of goes from green to purple. It's very cool. So let's go on and swatch these on my hand. Absolutely beautiful. Do you see that? Do you see how that middle one shifts? Stunning. I was so surprised, because look, there's still pigment on my fingers. These are so pigmented, and I think this is actually on sale right now. It might be $12 on site, or it might be sold out at this point. I honestly don't know. But of the 2, I was looking at the second one, the purple one in this collection, the other one, but when I look at it, the shimmers appear dark, and their mattes seem lighter. So based off the way that I do my makeup and other reviews that I've seen, the green one really stood out to everyone, and I can definitely see why. These are beautiful. I know I've I have accused Glamlite before of their swatches on their hand are absolutely lovely, but then once you actually apply them to the eye, they bunch up and they roll up and they don't last long. And that is true for what I've said before in my past reviews. For those palettes, that is true. For this one's absolutely stunning. The way that it looks on my hand is the way that it looked on my eye. And they did last a good amount of time. And these are just so beautiful. I did want to compare one color though, because this green is stunning. It's a very dark green. I think it's more blue leaning. It definitely has a lot of shimmer in it, but there's a color I really want to compare it to. And we're going to see that here. I want to compare it to, this is the Jeffree Star Blood Money. Now, I brought this out in particular because I have a shade in here that is actually no longer sold. It was the Put It Back shade from the launch with Shane Dawson, and I took out the original brown color that was in here, Private Island. Everything else in here is original except this one. This is the original single for Put It Back. And I kind of just want to compare it. I know it's not going to compare because I can already tell that Glamlite has a very shimmery, sparkly shimmer formula. Jeffree's is just a more a much calmed down more version of this green formula. So let's go into Put It Back. And I want to lay it next to the other one. And I just want to see if they're similar in tone, because the Glamlite one is definitely super, super shiny. Oh, that's not even close. That's not even close. I think in my head, Put It Back was a lot darker, and it's not even close. So, not a dupe for that. Not a dupe for that, but still a very beautiful color. I don't think there's anything, I don't think these two are very comparable. There's nothing else that, I think this is quite a unique palette. It's a very pretty, unique palette. I don't think there's necessarily anything in this palette that I could get from this one. Like, that's how you know it's a good palette. Because none of these colors are in here, none of these colors are comparable. Maybe this middle one, Poison Ivy, but I think even on the screen you can tell that Poison Ivy is, first of all, it looks like in here that there's a kind of duochrome effect, because this one over here kind of has a gold, more of a gold tint. This one's just a straight up green. A nice straight up green shimmer. If you look at the mattes, none of the mattes on that side I think can really compare over here. I could try and compare Crocodile Tears with this one, just to see what they look like side by side, but there's nothing really, they're not really competing. They're their own things, and I really love the Blood Money palette. So let's do Crocodile Tears, and then we can try this darker green over here, which I'm pretty sure the one in the Glamlite is darker. I did want to comment that the one in Glamlite does feel softer. However, my Jeffree Star palette, this one is from November 2020, so it is a bit older. This one I just got recently. Ooh, look, it's so pretty. It's like springy. I can immediately tell that the one in Glamlite is darker than the one in Blood and Money. But they're both very beautiful greens. So let's do the dark one first. This is Glamlite's. It's Glamlite's. This is Jeffree Star. Wow, look at that. Jeffree's formula, or at least right now for this palette, like I said, it is an older palette. It does feel a little bit drier, but I think that might be because it's older. This formula from Glamlite feels very nice and soft. But they're both very pigmented. They're both very beautiful. Look at that. Look at these greens. I'm absolutely so happy with what I purchased, especially since I did get this on sale. Overall, I'm absolutely so happy with this palette. This is the first Glamlite palette where I can say absolutely, if you're wanting a green palette, get this one. Absolutely. It worked so well. It's so beautiful. And with Halloween coming up again, this is going to be such an awesome color to wear for this fall. They're nice, they're dark. They've got from the lightest to the darkest of green, and then you got this kind of duochrome purple blue, and just a nice, just straight up purple, this witchy purple over here. That's so nice and intense and just gorgeous. I absolutely have to recommend this palette for Halloween. This one is a yes for me.